All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is episode number, hold on, let me check my Palm Pilot. Episode number 46 of the full set. My name is DiDi Delgado. I'm your hostess with the most X. And I'm actually in a really good fucking mood because I'm talking with my esteemed colleague, none other than the amazing Nayyirah Shariff. Nayyirah, welcome to the full set. How you doing, mama?
Hey, what's up? What up, yo?
What's up, yo? Yo, you was a 90s baby. I could already tell. So I'd like to read y'all Nayyirah's bio, but we're gonna get way deeper than that because we already done had a discussion about the bios and how evil they are. So Nayyirah Shariff is a grassroots organizer with 10 years of experience from Flint, Michigan. Nayyirah was one of the co-founders of the Flint Democracy Defense League, which is a grassroots group formed to confront Flint's emergency manager in 2011. Nayyirah has nearly 10 years experience organizing around local, state, and national electoral and issue campaigns. She's been featured on Democracy Now!, Move to Amend podcast, Al-Jazeera and Netroots Nation, speaking out about the problems with Flint's water and with Michigan's emergency management of local governments. She is currently the director of Flint Rising, a coalition of Flint residents and community groups, labor and progressive allies that formed in response to Flint's emergency declaration. Everybody, welcome with me, Nayyirah Shariff. Nayyirah! The crowd is going wild right now, right?
Like, and you know what? That bio, like, I had like gender neutralized my bio, which is basically the same, but it's just they. But
Okay.
But to me, like, I'll take all the pronouns.
You'll take all the pronouns? We're going to talk about gender. I didn't know we was going to talk about gender, but we can talk about gender.
Yeah, I'll take them all. Yeah.
You take them all? Okay. So welcome.
Hey, what's up?
I've been trying to get you on my show for like a long time. I act like I've been doing the show for a long time. But being this is episode, it's supposed to be a once a week episode. Being that it is episode number 46, you would think that I've been doing this for close to a year, and it's only been a month and a half. So I'm so glad that I could slide you in. I was like, and you were being flexible too. I was like, let me get you in on this date. Nah, like it can't be that date. This person's coming. Like, let me get you in on this date, you know? So thank you so much for being flexible and not being a jerk about it.
Yeah, it's okay. You know.
What's your sign? Talk about, yeah, it's okay.
I'm a Cancer.
That's why you're a Cancer. My best friend is a Cancer. It's hot as fuck in this girl house. All right, look, let me wipe my.
You got a box fan or something up there?
Lord, it's a fire. Like, I don't even know how hot it is in Boston, Massachusetts. Okay. So I want to talk to you about all the things. We're going to get into all the things. But first, I want to ask you, how are you doing right now?
I would say just okay, you know, because like I've been fighting, it seems like forever and a day to make sure that people have clean water. Mm-hmm. And that's especially pertinent right now because people need clean water to wash their hands to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And it is like, you would think it would be extra easy that people would prioritize that folks will have running water out of their homes. And it's been really difficult, like more difficult than you could even imagine, to make sure that, you know, like we're finally able to get at the state level, like for the pandemic. And it's actually like expiring next week on Juneteenth.
Oh, wow.
that particular executive order. And, you know, trying to make sure that it's happening, you know, at the federal level as well, because even though you have, you know, about, you know, like 15 or so states that have, you know, have these no water shut off mandates through executive order, like there's only been 3 that is mandating reconnection. So if people didn't already have running water, like they're not getting reconnected.
So the executive order specifically said what?
That that people could not get their water shut off due to non-payment, and then there was a pathway to reconnect people to to their water systems, their municipal water systems for free without cost to the resident. Um, but we're still fighting to get amnesty and getting like the outstanding debt forgiven.
Right.
And if there were actual plumbing issues, which does happen when you don't have running water for a long period of time, like your interior plumbing gets compromised, making sure that they do have actual water, because
Right.
like that water can stagnate and they could end up with like lead or legionella or any other host of bacterial issues, because like they're using stagnant water and making sure that they, like you drain your hot water heater, like all the stuff that people don't really think about.
Right.
Because by the way, as a tip, if you don't take nothing else, even if you go on vacation for a week, like you should be flushing your pipes before you use it, because that stagnant water is breeding bacteria.
Right. Okay. Look, I'm like, so it
Just
seems
flush
like
it for like 3 to 5 minutes, like the faucet.
let it run and flush the
Mhm.
toilets before
Yeah,
you use.
don't like immediately, like when you come home, like turn on the water and then drink that water, because that water is gross.
Okay.
That water can make you sick.
What I wanted to ask you is, because the question was about you per se, and you jump immediately into the work, and so we're gonna redirect, because I know it's difficult. That's how I know you a real community organizer, right? The question I'm asking you is, with all of that going on, like with it seeming to never stop, we in the midst of a pandemic, we in the midst of several uprisings.
Mhm.
I have yet to even ask you what the fuck Michigan is going through right now, how are you doing? Like, how are you holding up? How are you not managing? Are you managing? Like,
Man, it's been like, for many ways, it's been like a hot mess, because, I would say like far as like work, just personal, like I live alone,
right, okay,
and then it's just like, like I'm immunosuppressed. So I'm immunosuppressed, I have asthma.
okay,
So I am really like in that top tier of getting the Rona. So I would say like I had a lot of anxiety.
right, okay,
Um, like, I've had about 30 people that I personally know who have passed from COVID-19, and an additional about 25 people who had it. And I got off of social media because I was like, I can't keep on getting on Facebook and seeing like these Facebook memorials,
right,
to folks who passed like within hours. And, just like other Black communities, it's been hitting Black communities at a higher rate. And I would just say like that, like the work shit's been kind of fucked up, because like like we're a base building, like we do organizing, old school organizing, where we're not doing a digital shit.
right,
So
right,
we're doing shit face to face, and then it's like, oh, guess what? Like now you can't be around people, and like now you got to learn all this new stuff that you really did not know at all. And,
right,
and then it's like, and making sure that they okay, making sure like your people okay. Um, like I basically like the first week, like I did the grocery delivery, and then I'm like, I can't do like I don't know how long and not see a human being, because like
right,
even in my building, like I live in an apartment and there's like nobody in my building. Like I could be here and have like no contact, no human contact at all, you know. So I'm me and like
Where
one of
are
my,
all the people that lived in your building?
so we have like I live in this old ass apartment building, a complex where it's like 4 units in the building, and I'm the only person in the unit. Like in only one unit in this particular building is occupied. I mean, there's other people that's living in, but not in my building.
Okay,
So I'm just like, you don't hear like you don't hear no kids crying, like you don't hear nobody yelling at night, like you hear
right.
nothing. And I was
Do you feel
like,
isolated?
yeah. I mean, like even though like you have the Zoom, my sister lives in the city and my nephew lives here, in the area. My nephew lives here too. But it's like, you're talking or you're doing, like like Zoom or something like that.
Right.
But it's
But ain't no
totally,
kickback. Ain't no kickback.
nah. No, you're not laying up on nobody. Like you just
I've been laying up with people. I don't. I've been selectively social distancing. I just been breaking all the rules. I'm like, you got the Rona? You was at a protest? Do you have a fever?
You got a cough. Yeah, then the other thing is that, like I got all the respiratory issues. So I got the asthma, I got
Yeah, I have
the
chronic
allergies, I got the
bronchitis.
sinuses.
Right.
And so then so I decided I was gonna go grocery shopping. So me and like one of my other friends, like we go grocery shopping together. And that's been like our social interaction because Michigan was like one of the strictest stay-at-home orders.
What kind of
So
stay-at-home order did y'all have? Because she was like, nigga.
Oh, let me tell you. So I'm not sure like what, like the malls closed, fitness thing, like you can work out, could go to movies, you can go to the grocery store. You can't, like Michigan, we got bottle returns, which is like that's
Yo, them 5 cents be adding up. Don't
No,
play.
it's 10.
It's 10 cents?
It's 10 cents in Michigan, yes. So it's like you could do
I think
the
I need
bottle
to come back
returns.
to help y'all organize.
But then like they made it even stricter. Some stuff was just like that's just a straight white people shit because it was like you could only choose one home. So if you had a vacation home, you couldn't go to that.
Right, okay. They
Like
were
you
like,
couldn't. I know. So in Michigan, the majority like it's shaped like a mitten, and then you have that, which is backwards on the thing. But like most of the people like live in this area, which is like southeast Michigan.
Okay.
But but most of the vacation homes are like up here in the and then the Upper Peninsula.
On like the lakes, like Lake Erie.
Yeah. Because
Nigga, I don't know with my geography. I don't even know if Lake Erie is in Michigan.
Lake Erie is not in. It's like a little sliver, but it's not like surrounded by most of Michigan. But I'm
I
not
know
gonna
the
be
other
going up
lakes
here on this geography
are out there.
shit. So
Lake Michigan might be out there. I mean,
yeah, but then like they ended up making it even worse. So it was just like like if you were at a home improvement store, like it was like shit you couldn't buy there. Like you couldn't buy furniture. Like I had bought 2 whole TVs because
did
it
you
just
buy
seemed
your
like they was
TVs
giving
from
away TVs.
Craigslist?
No, I didn't. I went to the damn store. I went to
Okay.
goddamn Walmart, and then they had a TV for $120. I was like, shit, y'all giving away TVs.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I bought 2 TVs, and then I couldn't buy no TV stand. And then then they were like, you couldn't buy paint, which is just random because a lot of people who sitting at home like trying to do their home improvement projects. They like, well, since I got all the damn time in the world, I'm gonna try to fix up my house.
Right.
And then like gardening, it was just
they were making sourdough starters, like
Yeah, it was some stuff that was like a little bit suspect. And then like you had a bunch of like like we have, like Michigan's the home of the DeVosses, like Betsy DeVos. And they're a big conservative I mean, they're a big family anyway, but a lot of money. And so like they basically funded like a lot of the demonstrations that were like a lot of white nationalists showed up. So like in
oh,
April,
it was they people's. Okay.
it was they people. It was just like the first one that kind of sparked in other states was like Operation Gridlock, where they had about 5,000
white people are not even original. They're not even original. They using a Tupac movie.
They got no, like, I say this all the time. I'm like, like we got creativity. They just got the same old racist playbook,
Right.
Like it's not even a choose your own adventure. It's basically like step 1, step 2, step 3, So they like popped up and like blocked the hospital, and like you had about 5,000 people who was there, even though we had like these stay-at-home orders with social distancing in place. And we had state police motherfuckers was like taking pictures with them.
Right.
Folks with whole ass AR-15s that they took inside the Capitol, and they were up in the gallery where legislators were there. And we can't like, I'm like, I've never had state police like taking pictures with me. All the demonstrations I organized there. Like you can't even bring a yard sign. You can't even bring a sign or a bullhorn inside the Capitol. Yeah, you can bring a whole ass AR-15.
In 2015, I was at a protest and my uncle is special ops and I ran into him and I was like, "Hi, Uncle Blank." Like, that nigga did not even look at me. Like, I mean, I was like, so take a picture with me. Like, I feel like I'm a threat to his life.
No, and just seeing like that shit being juxtaposed now, where you're getting like demonstrators who not bringing AR-15s, like black people and white people who are like, and brown people and just like all the people who are just
trying
like
to be
fuck white
inclusive.
supremacy.
No.
Like, I mean they're popping up and they're getting gas.
Right.
like you got the police gassing them. They're not posing to take. Well, some of them are posing to taking pictures, but like none of those demonstrators at any of the. Then they had an Operation Haircut because some old ass motherfucker wanted to like he wanted to open up and
he really wanted to dig into the work of giving
like
haircuts.
He wanted to be like, I'm gonna cut hair regardless.
He's like, I'm oppressed.
I'm losing money, and this is old dude. And there was this whole thing in Owasso, which is probably about 15 minutes away from Flint. And so then they did a whole demonstration where he out there on the Capitol steps doing haircuts and stuff. But like you had the state police, none of them mugs got gas. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. None of them mugs got rubber bullets shot at them. And I'm pretty sure like none of these other states where these white nationalists popped up at the Capitols, like none of them got tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper spray, flash grenades. Like none of them got that. None of them got that treatment. Like they weren't showing up with tanks.
Right.
So, but they popping up where we at,
No, I appreciate that. Something I think about is, what movement looks like across the country right now. People are doing COVID mutual aid. They are doing bail funds across the country because they are mobilizing behind the fact that we all feel like the death of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, the murder of George Floyd, and the murder of Breonna Taylor, and so many countless others, really, like, although we're trying to keep count, it's unfortunate. I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, but I feel like that's my sibling. I feel like I understand. And so what do you think the disconnect is to the water crisis in Flint? Like, niggas is dying in Flint. Niggas cannot have clean drinking water, clean bathing water. I met a mom of two who checked into a hotel for one night just so her and her babies could take a bath. She said, we do this once a week.
Yeah, I mean, the water crisis still isn't over, It's been let me get the number because my phone had died. 2,240 days since the beginning of the water crisis. And
you said how many days?
2,240.
That Flint doesn't have clean running water.
So that's like a little bit over 6 years. So April 25th was the 6-year anniversary, which was during the coronavirus, during the pandemic. Well, we're still in a pandemic, but during like the crest of the shutdown and stuff. So it was tough because like here in Flint we usually commemorate that.
Right.
And we count the days since we count like not the date that there was public acknowledgement of there is a water crisis and there was an issue with the water. We count the actual day of the switch to the Flint River, and we keep count of that. But I mean, it's tough. It's like really, instead of like, I would say like it's more of systemic racism and like how it shows up in your body as stress, and you have like a limited life expectancy.
Right.
And like when you are dealing with, I would say, chronic illnesses that a lot of people are now dealing with, or their illnesses, they may have had illnesses that were exacerbated. Like for instance, like I had asthma pre-water crisis,
Okay.
but it was mild asthma. Like I could still be physically active and run and all of that stuff. And now I have severe asthma, like in the course of
You think you
months.
believe that it's gotten worse. You're aware that it's gotten
Oh,
worse.
it's definitely gotten worse. Like I'm on increased medication. I can't even climb a flight of stairs without being extremely winded. And a lot of people who did not have asthma, as a result of the water crisis, now have asthma. Because even though, like we had lead in our water, but we had other chemicals that were also in our water and other bacteria that was in the water as well. Because one of the first things that, like that we were fighting against was E. coli.
Right. Okay.
So we had a lot of boil water advisories immediately after the switch.
I heard that the boiling of the water doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter for lead. So it could be very dangerous because lead is a heavy metal. So boiling does not kill the lead. It does not evaporate the lead. It just basically concentrates the lead, because that lead, like once it's in there, it's in there. It has nowhere to go. The only way to remove the lead is through filtration. Um, but one of the things that people did get exposed to, which was total I can never say this, and I'm like stumbling now.
Take
Like,
all the time you need, sis.
TTHMs, total try. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm not even gonna bother. But anyway,
What does it mean is the important thing.
It's a chlorination byproduct.
Okay.
So like to kill the E. coli, they dump chlorine into the water. And then the reaction of that on top of like what's happening across the country, which is like United States, we got an infrastructure problem. And because of that, like when you have total trihalomethanes, total trihalomethanes in the, I know it's a snap, in the water, like when you boil it, like it's released into as steam, and then that has an adverse reaction on your lungs. So it's actually 6 times more deadly. Like if you're breathing it through steam.
I just looked it
folks
up. That
like
shit's wild. That shit's
like
wild.
people who like hot showers, and you're like, you got your hot shower, you washing your hair and all that stuff, and it's just like you breathing it in. You just breathing it in, and then
There was a
like
woman, she
Legionella.
had rashes all over. Are you saying, is that what the Legionella is? She had
No, the Legionella is not that. The Legionella is a bacteria, and like that can kill you. And I mean, people have died, from Legionella. Yeah, because it's like a bacteria, like bacterial pneumonia. But
so when I came to visit y'all, it was a whole bunch of us. We came as a coalition. It was Black Lives Matter DC, it was BLM Louisville, it was Yanazda Lone Wolf, it was BLM Cambridge. It was so many of us all coming together, a lot of indigenous folks, because they were trying to do a benefit concert or whatever. And I found that the information as I understood it, was that we were raising money for water filtration systems, which is, for folks who don't know, it's the thing that you screw on and it's got a filter, like a certain grade filter, like an industrial grade filter, to kind of get all these toxins out, and the bacteria strain them out. But you were telling me when you and I sat and talked that it was about more than that, because people are being penalized for not paying the bill on top of, and I think we tried to like strategize. I don't know why we lost touch on that. So that's my fault probably, because I'm just an asshole. But what are some like concrete steps that folks can take to rally around y'all, because it's not about creating new things. It's not about sending water. It's not about none of that. I mean, maybe that's helpful to y'all. I don't know. But what is some concrete things that organizers are asking for right now?
Well, I mean, like we've always been advocating for systemic change, which, like one of the, on top of like, like we lost our democracy through a racist policy called the emergency manager law that was only implemented in majority Black cities in Michigan.
Right.
And that's the reason why we had a water crisis, because if we had self-determination in our community, we would have never chosen to draw from the Flint River. And if we did, we would have made sure that there was the equipment and investment in place. So our community would have been healthy in the first place and safe. But like we're advocating for, I would say, a bunch of different things. One is like we want to make sure, like at the state and the federal level, that water is a human right. The United States is one of few countries that did not sign on to the UN declaration to make water as a human right.
They're not signing
And
on
that
to shit the
water,
UN
oh
has been
no,
telling them.
no, no, they've been not doing that. But like the United States is one of the few countries in the world where your water could be shut off due to the inability to pay.
Right.
And like water is life. Water is life giving. You cannot live without water. And on top of like, and it's so crazy because like opponents always want to see it in the terms of economics. And this is really in the terms of like health, through the lens of health in our lives. Because if you don't have running water, like you're susceptible to a lot of diseases. Right now, COVID,
Right. Because
hepatitis.
niggas need to wash their hands.
Yeah, hepatitis, like and you can't wash your hands after you take a shit, like you're spreading it around. There you go, feces, you got everything. So it's like, and the crazy part is like the reason why we do have public health in the United States is because of fucking water and illnesses and waterborne illnesses like cholera and dysentery and all that shit. That all the stuff that like when you're not drinking clean water, like all the stuff that like can happen to a community. And so we've been like advocating for like, like actual infrastructure, because Flint is still not safe. And even though like we got like service line replacement, like we still like the water mains are still fucked up. Like there is no money or a big like buckets of money raining down on the city of Flint that they can replace all of the interior plumbing in their home, because all that shit got compromised through the
Because
water.
now the plumbing system needs to be fixed because of the corrosion from the lead and all these things in the pipes.
Yeah, and just because of just like other racism, because of other racism, like you don't have equity in your home, or you can't get a loan or any of this stuff for people to try to like do it on their own.
Do you think that there's a kickback for the plumbers? I don't know. I got this weird vibe when I don't know. Am I being gossipy? I just feel like I got this weird vibe, like when we were down there, like I was like, damn, y'all can't cut a deal or nothing. Like, we're trying to like get a lot. These things are expensive. I think that we were doing a concert, and we were trying to, I think one of the sound systems didn't get delivered on time or something like that. And people were like mad, right? And I don't know if you remember this, people were big mad. Did you come to the concert?
I did come to the concert, but
so there was so much drama. People were big mad.
I do remember that there was drama, and I was like, I'm not going to be part of that drama. Like,
but it was mostly because we're giving a concert as a benefit, and we were live streaming it. And Black Lives Matter decided that we were not. That was my white girl voice that just came on. We were not going to spend $3,000 on renting a sound system at the last minute. So we just did the live concert live, like without sound, and just whoever was going to hear it was going to hear it, which is unfortunate. But it was fortunate because we did use that $3,000 to buy more water filtration systems. But I just felt like I was so mad because I felt like it wasn't enough. Like, you know what I'm saying? I felt like even the fundraising that we did like on the ground while we were there, like trying to get people, it wasn't enough. Like, you know, what would it look like to have clean running water in Flint right now?
Well,
Who's got to do it?
well, right now, I mean, the federal government is printing all the money, you know, so so I mean, it really needs to be with at the federal level, because they're the ones that like can like unlock the chest and like make it rain, you know, like in Flint and Chicago and all these other communities. Because one of the things that I learned, like as someone who wasn't really like, you know, kind of doing EJ stuff in the like through a gentrification lens. Environmental justice, which is EJ, like I mean,
I was about to ask you. I was like, explain it to the people.
Not economic justice, you know. So as far as like environmental justice, and I did environmental justice with other stuff, but environmental justice is basically the response to environmental racism. So like when you look at you know, like where you live and the toxins that are around you, as far as like your, like using like the public health framework, the social determinants of health, which is like all of these different things that impact health. So the World Health Organization says health is more than the absence of disease. So like thinking of like your health of your community, think through the lens of like the built environment. So like where are the expressways? And think where Black people live. You're living next to a refinery or some big huge factory that's spewing toxins. Like, are you living next to an expressway or like some, you know, high-speed highway? Like you living next to a cemetery or a gas station or a dry cleaners, and all of those things.
The dry cleaner, bigly.
Yeah. So like just as just some quick examples, but all of those things, you know, have, you know, like have or incinerator, you know, and all of those things you know, impact you. So when you have an incinerator is burning like we don't know what the fuck, and you like it may be next to elementary school, and then you're thinking of like, you know, like as a child I grew up with asthma, but I had no idea until like I was an adult that where I grew up was right next to a fucking incinerator that was burning.
Like when you say incinerator, you mean like dead bodies went into it?
No, so it's basically
Nigga, I don't be
like
knowing words.
so an incinerator is just like, so incinerator is just a big facility that burns shit. So it can burn garbage. It can burn just like, you know, like when they tearing down houses and the wood and shit, and they go on they burn in that tires.
Wow.
And just thinking about like all of the chemicals that are like in that stuff. And like how
so is this why folks get so upset when like the city is like, we're building a water plant near these neighborhoods because of the toxins that would come from the production of these plants?
Yeah, because it's just like, you know, like where you have like maybe like a water plant or a sewage treatment plant, you know, like they're using chemicals. How are they storing those chemicals? Is it in a place that is just like kind of like this open space? And then like what happens like if there's a storm and then that stuff overflows and then it goes into, you know, like what they call the groundwater, which is basically, you know, it gets up here and then it settles down, seeps on down. So like if you have like a well, you know, like if you're on well water, you know, all the stuff, contamination, all the stuff that's around you, like if it's heavy, when it rains, it's gonna sink to the ground and eventually seep on down to where your water is, and then you're drinking it, you know. So
I feel like throwing up.
Or, you know, like, you know, you have a lot of treatment plants that are near rivers or sewage treatment plants that are near rivers. And then you're like, yo, like I'm over here, like I'm fishing.
Right.
I'm fishing in the river. And like a mile upstream, so upstream, so that means that you're fishing downstream from that plant is a plant. And then they're just like, oh shit, something happened, and we're discharging basically whatever the fuck sewage, sewage into the river, and then it's all going down. And then like the fish that you fishing is like all up in
That's
this
why catfish tastes like that. I'm convinced. Now that you said it, that's why catfish tastes like that
like,
shit.
and then 2 miles down, like you got some kids like splashing in the, like it's shallow and they splashing in it. So,
Right.
like thinking about like environmental, just like the environment, like is like has a big impact, especially, like there was like a Harvard study that was released like in March that talked about particulate matter. So particulate matter is just like little pieces of shit. So, and it's basically like if you living near a place that's like spewing shit, so like the dust and shit, like if you live next to an expressway and you see big ass semi trucks going back and forth, so it's like, so that's diesel emissions that now you breathe in, because that shit just blows, and it don't just blow one way.
Thank you for letting me know I need to move because I live on a highway. Like,
So, just like stuff like that. So, like if you're just like, or you live you live near a factory, and then it's some days where you be coughing, like the coughing is like your body saying like, there's something in here that shouldn't be up in here. So like the study basically said like, like if you're basically like in these areas, like you have a higher rate, like if you get the virus to die, that you're gonna die.
Right. Okay.
And so like, and that's some manifest in every, like when you see like, like it's some shit near a school and you got like half the school kids on inhalers.
Right.
Then you know that that's like an environmental justice issue. If you're seeing like big ass billowing smokestacks from an oil refinery, and then there's only like like immigrants that's living over there,
Right.
then like that's an
Then they're also
environmental justice.
disproportionately affected.
Yeah. So it's not like, so not Flint, but like Detroit. So there's an area called Southwest Detroit, which is historically like the Mexican Americans like live there, undocumented and undocumented, like Spanish speaking population live down there. And you have like your many immigrants, and just like it's just like a mixed
Right.
ethnicity neighborhood. But it's like the most polluted zip code in Michigan.
Oh wow.
And it's like, like there's a Marathon refinery, and then a steel mill, and then some other shit that's like all around, like within, like 1 square mile. And so, and that shit is like how racism shows up. So you have folks that, folks were like, they're like long before I've been doing the work, like elders in the environmental justice movement, like Dr. Wright and Robert Bullard, who did like toxic waste and race like back in the 80s, and it's like we're still talking about it. So just like knowing that, and they were doing work on like Cancer Alley, where you had like all these areas like in the South where they had cancer. Like when you're seeing like that's like an indicator of
like the Aaron Brockovich movie.
yeah. So it's just like a lot of stuff like that. So majority is like, it's always poor people. It's not all.
It's always
like
right.
There's always is always poor people. Like,
why do you think that Flint, Michigan hasn't gotten a movie? Because it's Black folks, right? I mean, it's been 6 years. I mean, you just gave me the number.
I would say like there was a Lifetime movie.
Nobody watches that Lifetime shit.
Jill Scott played big.
I hate it here.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like poor Black people,
right?
Poor majority Black population. Even though I would say all the activists, like outside of like maybe 2 or 3, were women, majority Black. We had white women too, but they were there. They were there as well.
Look,
and
you
like,
had Nancy Pelosi. Did she come? Did Nancy Pelosi come with her kente cloth?
No, she didn't come with the arms that she.
I feel like it was like Sounds of Blackness was playing when they got together.
You know what? And I'm just like, I'm not sure the Congressional Black Caucus just being extra petty.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh, you look good," like. I'm like, yo, because there, some people was just like, well, they wear kids. I'm like, well, obviously, like we already know that, there's a lot of Black people that don't know the meaning of kente club. So how could they like express that and say
Right.
like, oh, there's some, like there are meanings to the color.
Right.
And but no, I was like, what kind of performative nonsense is that shit? Because that was just like the most. And then like they were like, well, read the legislation, and I was like, that legislation is like worth is less than toilet paper. I'm like, what they should have been doing is like taking those damn planes and dropping some damn Lysol, because I'm still waiting on that shit. you know, like they would have done more for all communities. They drop some Lysol, like we get in the National Guard and we drop a Lysol in y'all area so y'all can get
Right.
Right. Y'all out here protesting. Like I would have liked some Lysol more than those bills, because that was some bullshit.
I want to ask you, like, what is like the worst kind of like emotional racism that you feel like residents in Flint face, or you face, like, because you're also a resident of Flint. I'll give an example. I'm part of this group local to my community called Helens of Troy, and these white women think that they are the stalwart of anti-racism and that they are nice white ladies, and it's just very interesting. And so this woman made a post. This woman made a post about the fireworks. So you know what time of year it is. Like as soon as niggas get fireworks in their hands, plus we in an uprising, like, you know what I'm saying? Plus like niggas can't talk to each other. It's a pandemic. Like it has been more fireworks than I have ever heard in my life during this time of year, right? And so she makes a post about it. And she's like, does anybody want to get together and figure out what we're gonna do about the fireworks? And I'm like, what are you gonna do, Karen? Call the cops? You already know what happens. Like if you're in this group, you already know what happens when police officers get involved with Black youth, right? With Black men, with Black women, with Black children. I was like, so what does it look like for you to just ignore it? It's a season of your life. Like, yeah. She's like, my dog is barking. Like, yo, I swear white women are just, I can't. So
to me, I always look at somebody's side eyes when they prioritize animals over human life. And it's not like I'm out here abusing animals. Like I don't even own an animal. But but then I'm just like, and that's like the whole thing. They is just some kind of way about being a vegan too, where it's just like y'all don't care about Black people just being laid out in the street, and Peter just sending me some shit about like, I don't know, like Gucci.
Has Peter sent the Black Lives Matter? Has Peter sent out the Black Lives Matter email that Bath and Body Works is sending out?
Oh, I have no idea. I actually muted them, so because I'm like, I can't even with y'all, because y'all out there throwing like fake blood on celebrities who
right.
like wearing that stuff, and then it's like all your stuff like extra white anyway, and you just out there, shaming folks.
Right.
For their food choices.
Can we talk about for their food choices? So that's what I was going to ask you. You said you was a Black vegan, and when you told me that off camera, I was like, So most Black vegans that I have encountered have been super, super classist. It's like, how do you strike the balance of still being a hood bitch and like, I don't eat meat, niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like how can you do both? Because it can be done.
Yeah, because like, I mean, just really like just looking at our food system in the United States anyway is like super subsidized by the government.
Right.
And
I was drinking the air out of this glass and you didn't even say nothing. You were just like,
that's because I'm like, well, you just making some stuff up, like you magical. So I'm just like, if you can condense liquid, I'm like, okay, that's what's happening.
I hate you.
That's what like you root for everybody Black. It's like, you know what?
You know what? Let that bitch do what they do.
It's like you don't do that. It's like you just accept it,
Right.
But but like so I have a friend who was vegan before I was vegan.
Okay.
She's like an amazing person. Her name is Angela Stamp, and she's Black. Not saying like and she's Black, but amazing.
And she Black or whatever.
and she black, and she has like she does like a bicycle program here in Flint where she, does physical activity with like young people. And she's not doing it this year, but like last year, like she would like, they would like give, like a bike and stuff, but like on top of like healthy eating and making healthier choices.
Okay.
Because on one hand, the classes thing would be like, well, like you're either paying for it now or later. You're paying for it later with your health and like your stuff. But I mean, there are ways, because like I was on food stamps and was able to, and I was vegetarian, so there, like you're not gonna be like the whole, like, yeah, if you do like, I'm gonna do the whole meat substitutes with the Boca burgers and that bullshit, which basically, that's basically like eating like lean cuisines, like it's high in salt and it's not.
You don't have to attack people who eat lean cuisines.
Well, I'm just saying, like, there are, like, if you have it, like, for the same price for portions, like, there are other things, like, you could just do beans and rice all day, and economical, and
grits.
So, I mean, like, I would say, like, if you eat actual vegetables, vegetables and healthy grains, it is cheaper, especially, like, if you, was able to, like, I don't know, like a Save-A-Lot or Aldi's or I mean, like, shit, I shop at Save-A-Lot and Aldi's,
I'm really happy to hear this. You got a quarter with you every single time you go somewhere. I feel it.
Hell yeah. I'm about to, like, I wish I had my keys with me. I'll show it real quick, but like looking at the places, and then some of the stuff is like, because I did like all the random ass shit, like eat within 100 miles or that.
Okay.
Like, I'm only shopping.
Are there food deserts where you live?
Yeah, so let's talk about food deserts.
I mean, let's talk about them.
Yes. So food deserts is a USDA classification that denotes, and I used to do, like, I did a lot of food justice work in the past. I've done a whole lot of shit in the past.
You're like, so that's why you need to update your motherfucking bio, like I told you, because it didn't say nothing about your food justice.
So like food deserts are full service chain grocery stores, so like a Walmart or a Kroger.
Okay.
So very rarely are there places that isn't like that like under that. So like, yeah, like, because Flint doesn't have a Walmart or a Kroger.
Y'all
like,
sure enough don't. We was like trying to figure out where the fuck we could buy shit from, and we was in a Family Dollar.
But thinking about places that actually sell food, I mean, like, we have some small scale grocery stores, because like, like the USD, like, that's just racist,
Right.
I'm just gonna say it just like that, because like, like Flint has like several small scale grocery stores where it may not have a fucking bakery, but like, you can get all the meat that you want, and the type of meat that you want. Like, you can get frozen crowder peas,
right.
You get frozen crowder peas, like you can get kale and collards and field peas and all that, and snaps and peas. So, and like, there's a place sell rabbit,
right,
and oxtails and all that stuff.
Before you were vegan, did you eat rabbit?
I ate it once. I ate rabbit once.
Who are you, Nayyirah?
So there's this place that's like,
as a current vegan, I am very anti-rabbit eating.
Oh, well, I don't do, like, for me, like, my veganism is more political. Okay. With a lot of stuff, a lot of choices that I make is like political, because it is.
I'm gonna stop fucking with you. I did hear that someone said that you can't be totally anti-oppression if you eat animals. And so I think it was Dick Gregory. I don't want to misquote, but I've been thinking about that quote for a long time. Like,
and like, it's not like the animals itself, it's how they're raised. It's not just like it's a cow, but it's like how the cows are raised, like the chemicals that those cows are exposed to, like when you go to the slaughterhouses, like, that's basically, a lot of them like housed by undocumented workers who are being exploited.
Right.
So like, by eating meat, you are basically buying into this oppressive system
I get what you're saying now by
of just
when you
like
say it's
the
political.
factory, like the factory farming and all that stuff. And if you want to just like live your life based on like non-exploitation, because I mean, like if you like look at it through that lens, like you're gonna have to interrogate, buying shit from Fashion Nova and H&M and all the other stuff and whatever they call fast fashion, and like, because like once you peel that shit back, it's just like knowing that like we are like our lives are tied to like so much exploitation and tied to like systemic oppression, because the reasons why those facilities are over in some of these countries is because there are no workers' rights and they're
Right.
able to abuse people. And it's like, if we're like anti-abuse, at some point, like there's gonna have to be a conversation.
At some point.
At some point, it don't gotta happen today. But
So part of the conversation that I want to have with you, 'cause I'm gonna switch gears for a second. Usually I go back and forth between peanut butter and fluff or whatever, but we just gonna make a fluffernutter. So I heard you say that you caught 2 TVs at the Walmart. What the fuck are you watching on these TVs for a bitch who don't watch TV?
I ain't watching shit. They still the goddamn box. They still the box. And that was like a whole other, because it's like one of my friends, because like before this whole pandemic, I've been making all types of choices.
He's having make all types of choices.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even shop at Walmart, but they be exploiting people. I'm like, damn it, now I'm at fucking Walmart buying 2 goddamn TVs. So
can you send me a TV?
if they still got them like cheap,
my base on my big screen was donated to me from a white family that I know and love. It's very rare that I would ever say that I love, but I know and love them. And the base cracked in the second move, like, and in order to replace the base, I might as well just buy a new TV. Like, it's like $278 just to replace the base of the TV. Like, I was like,
my friend bought a 55-inch TV for $300.
Oh, I got a 40-inch. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. So I got a 40-inch for I want to say 170. That's why I was like, the getaway TV.
$170.
I got a 40-inch and a 32-inch.
Listen, I'm gonna have to cross the picket line. $172.
Yeah, that's because they was slashing all that stuff, because like people was afraid they wasn't gonna have no job, So they was like, we gotta try and make it rain.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I want to talk to you about love in the time of Corona. I struggle with love. I really do. I think it's my Aquarius and Venus. I think it's Venus in retrograde. I think I'm an asshole. I think it's all the things. I think it's like me being polyamorous and me running into people that just want to be monogamous with me all the time. I think it's people not accepting me from where I'm at. I think I don't accept people for where they're at. It's a whole bunch of shit. You don't have to snap while I'm interviewing. Wow. Just feel dragged by the people in the room. So anyways, so what does love look for you? Like, what does Black love look for you?
I'm
slurring my words. What does Black love look like for you?
I know. And like,
bitch, you didn't even correct me. You could have helped me. You could have read and rainbow me. No, what does it look like for you?
Like, I'm asexual, and so
this is amazing. Can we mark down the calendar that we've had an ace person here? Yes.
Yeah, so and for me, like, it's more emotional, like, it's not physical, it's like emotional for me, emotional connections.
Okay.
And like, I have a partner, and we haven't seen each other face to face since February. I want to say like probably about February 14th or so.
Okay.
And like, even though like we do like Google Duo and stuff, like, it's sometimes you want to see people face to face.
Right.
And it's not like that, because also they live like 100 miles away from me. So
So you can do long distance relationships because for you it's about the emotional connection you have with the person.
yeah. I mean, like you talk every day, so it's like, and because for me it's like I'm not trying to do a whole lot because I travel a lot. Well, before the shutdown,
Right. Okay. Right.
but it's just like, you just have like the connection, committed connections. Um, I can't do the polyamory, but mostly because I can't keep track of people. I can't remember new people.
I have a
You
chart.
know, you got a chart.
I have a chart.
So
Right.
I'm like, I can't even remember new people. And like I could see somebody. It was somebody. I was at a demonstration today with like that was organized by young people. And then
You
it
were
was like
telling me that the youth had organized a demonstration.
yeah, like
Protest.
it was like super cool. Yeah, it was a BLM protest. And it was like it was like some students from like high school, Carmen Ainsworth, which is not located in the city, but because of our stuff, like a lot of black a lot of Flint kids attend that high school. And like it was like some of the teachers that were there that like assisted them with the organizing, and it was like a march and a protest, and they had chalk and water and like masks, and it was like super cool. It was just like super exciting, and they spoke. um they had a chance to speak and do some education. It was mostly like younger people, and
Okay.
some of the kids who had graduated this year showed up with a cap and gown. And I mean, it was like super, super cool. But it was like a couple of people who I ain't seen in a minute. They're like, "Hi, Miss Nayyirah." I'm like,
They were your youth.
Hi, like, hi. And I'm like, hi. I can't remember your name.
So were some of them your youth? I feel like you were saying that you might have mentored a few of them and you were like having this proud like moment.
Yeah, it was so cool because I remember one of the organizers. I remember like when I first met her, like she had came with her aunt to a city council meeting, and she was upset by the behavior of the council, and she just like got up and read them,
Okay.
And then I was like, she was like, and I'm 13, and I was like, yes, I want to get to know you. And so I chased him down. I was like, hey,
right.
Hey, let's talk. Like, what are you doing? So I mean, it was like super cool. I mean, it's always cool, seeing young organizers, because I'm like, like I'm starting to feel my age, organizing years is like more than dog years, because a whole
It
life
sure enough is.
like a whole life can happen. I'm like just thinking about like I've been thinking over the last few weeks of like all the things that I've organized in all of the years and all of the crises and all of this stuff. And that stuff is stressful. I'm surprised I ain't had a heart attack, like, because it's a whole lot. But it's like really cool because, like for movements to be sustained, like you need new people.
Right.
So folks don't get burnt out, because really before the water crisis, like I was getting burnt out. And I was like, fuck this shit. I'm about to like open up a bakery. And I'm about
Do you
to
bake, bitch? I mean,
yes, I am a wonderful. I'll say in another life, I'll be a pastry chef.
like you still got it in you. Why not? You could host community meetings, like in the front where like the seating arrangement is. You be like, it's closed, but we rent this space out for free to community organizers.
Because I was actually like thinking like, like I was gonna open up a bakery and then have just a cooperative space. So
oh shit.
We could do baking and just like learning. People can learn how to do shit like canning, because canning, like that's just expensive to get into. But like if you have the equipment, like you could just go in there and just can yourself, can your shit yourself. Or, like just like learning like food prep, because my dad was always like, when the revolution, he was like, my dad was like one of those when the revolution comes.
Right.
person, as someone who did like movement work in the 60s and 70s. And it was just like, like when the revolution comes, so just like, growing up with like learning to be like like really like self-sufficiency and like defense as far as like not just like, like having guns, which we did have guns in our house, but just like, like knowing how to like sew and knowing how to like cook your own food and grow your own food, and some
You
ways like
garden?
you get lost to forage for food.
You
So
garden?
hell no, I don't garden. Like that is not my talent. Like I cannot.
Bitch, I hate it here. She said, hell no, I don't garden.
Nah, like I'm brown and I kill everything I touch. but I could cook the hell out of something, Like I could cook the hell out of some greens. Like I could freeze some greens.
I don't want
But
to, I
but
don't
just
want
like
to,
knowing that, like that's like a way for people to save money with like buying a bunch of shit when it's on sale and then like
right.
saving it. Like it's a way to kind of save money too, so you can be better on your
I
budget.
don't want to glaze over the ACE conversation. Something I want to ask you is, there's actually 4 people I've asked to be on the show, and they just, I get it. It's coronavirus. Like
Yeah.
some niggas can't come on the show because they just feel like it's too much. Like right now, like you know what I'm saying. But it's like I
Mm-hmm.
did reach out to an eclectic group of people, and I'm getting folks as they're able to. What do you think you would want people to know about you as an asexual person? And then what are the misconceptions about asexuality that like annoy your soul?
All right, so
You like, all right. So you gotta
but just like like I ain't speaking for every asexual everywhere. I ain't speaking for every black asexual everywhere. I'm just speaking from like my own experience.
yeah, your own
Like,
stuff.
I remember like when I had told my parents that probably when I was like 18, I was like, I'm asexual. And then like, no, you're not. And that was like, like tough. And I would just say like,
Can I have a
even
Oreo?
though like it's something I always felt, it was just something I always felt, and just like um but I would say like now, as I'm older and basically at the point where like I just don't give a fuck,
Right.
like I'm just like Nayyirah, like you don't have to just refer to me as like I'm Nayyirah, asexual, gender non-conforming, and there you go. You know? and and that's where I'm at in my life right now, and how I feel about that. I would just say like dating is always interesting, and it always like kind of breaks down with physical intimacy, where that's where it always ends. Like even though like you basically say this is who I am at the very beginning, it's like nah, like that's always, ends up being like the eventually it always ends up being like the deal breaker, like the person that I'm dating now is, and it hasn't really been, it's kind of like been over this hump, which for me October is always the breakup month.
You're
It's
like, it's
always been
fall,
my breakup
bitch.
month. It's
It's
always
fall.
been
I
my
like to
breakup
snuggle
month.
on my own.
No, it's always been the month of October. Like there hasn't been
Okay.
anything outside of the month of October, and there's always been like the person always cheats on me, and then I just find out like some other way. Like it never comes from them, and I'm just like. So after that, I was like, I'm not even like. So I had went to like 10 years. I was like, I ain't even date nobody. Like fuck that.
Right. I was
Fuck
gonna
all that.
ask you, did you take some time for yourself? Because when I be feeling like this shit is not going my way, I took 6 months. Bitch, you said 10 years. I took 6 months and I was like, I'm on a sabbatical. Um,
Uh,
I
yeah, I
came out of the
did.
sabbatical and I'm just like, I'm going back on. Like,
Yeah, and I was just like, I just did 10 years. I was like, what else, So and so then, it was, like this relationship. I was like, so once again, I'm gonna say this is who I am.
right, right.
And this person so far has accepted that, So,
a whole Cancer energy right here. A
yeah,
whole
so
Cancer.
because I remember I had one relationship where I basically, and I had did work as a racial justice facilitator. All right.
It's so
So
fun doing this work.
oh man, it's so funny now because like it went from like racial sensitivity to like cultural competency,
I don't even call it that.
diversity, inclusion.
I don't call it none of that.
Like
I'm like, y'all
implicit
asked me to be
bias.
aware and acknowledge. It's cultural acknowledgement. That's what it's called.
So and then this shit's crazy. But I just remember like this one relationship, like it was a conflict, and then I was like, all right, I am going to. So we had came up with group agreements on how we are going to resolve that conflict, and we signed it, and then I hung it up in the living room.
You're like, this is our stuff.
And then I was just like, number 3. You're violating number 3.
So boundaries are important to you. The second to last question I have for you is about boundaries. And it's like, I think about your work with Flint Uprising, right? And how that's a coalition building. And you may not necessarily speak on behalf of a person who's part of that, but just you have over 10 years of organizing outside of Flint Uprising. Like
Flint Rising.
Flint Rising, thank you.
It's not Flint Uprising. We should have probably said that. Like,
if you would have started with that, you might be further along. How white people feel about fucking up their shit.
Yeah, I don't know who Flint Uprising is, but
so with Flint Rising, excuse me, like you do coalition building, like it's just a group of orgs and individuals working together to do this work. Knowing what you know about your own personal boundaries, I mean, bitch, you had a fucking declaration of your relationship and your boundaries in your living room, right? And so when you come to coalition work with other organizers, especially during the time of pandemic, especially during the time of this uprising, which y'all should be named anyways. I mean, just have a meeting. Tell them DiDi Delgado said, and consider it. I mean, and so like, what does it look like to have true coalition building? What are pros and what are cons? And like, can it really happen like effectively?
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of negative experiences. So I guess I'll talk about a couple of those where you had, the power dynamics that, like there's always group dynamics, but like there's a difference between kind of like, turf beef and then just like, beef from harm. So like having like some organizations that are like fucking racist and like want to do like paternalistic bullshit and just really trying to like extract from you, like they're not good partners. So stop partnering with them. Just stop it. Like all money isn't good money. And that was like, one of the things like with Flint Rising, like it was like some stuff where we're just like, we're not gonna partner with you and we're not gonna take your money. Right. Because like the stuff, like if we're really trying to transform into a society, like what could we do organizationally to kind of model what we want to see outside. But I would say like so far what's been a good example is like not post pandemic, but post stay at home order. Okay. I can't wait till we get to post pandemic. Like, really? But we're moving right along, not there. We are not there because when we go into the grocery stores, the people ain't wearing masks. I'm like, I don't even like the energy in this store. I'm gonna leave. But what like Flint Rising right now, like we're part of a broader coalition called My COVID Community, and and it was basically like what is a just response to the pandemic. So it was basically, there was a website, people could sign on to this platform that talked about like housing and have moratorium on evictions and utility shutoffs. Moratorium on utility shutoffs, not having utility shutoffs. Right. Like education and that stuff like kind of came together, like basically within like 4 or 5 days, and you had like, 100 organizations and individuals who signed on, and then, kind of creating a structure and building structure about that, and you know, like we had did like basically a week of action after that bullshit that happened in the Capitol with the AR-15s. And, you know, as far as like, you know, what makes good coalition partners is having deep trust in each other.
Right.
Because if you are building, so you have to build trust. Trust isn't just like automatically given. And it's like, how are you showing up like in these communities? Like, are you coming in as extractive? Like, and I've been part of those programs where it's just like, all right, we got to get 20,000 voters. And it's all about like these numbers to get the cash. And it's not any thought about like what happens to these communities after this money is spent. And you know, like to see transformation is like more than just like a program. You know, this is like deep partnership and walking alongside with or following. You know, like it's not like you're leading the community. You're
Right.
either
You better
walking
say that.
alongside with, or you're following what the community wants, and you're trying to build out and make their dreams come true, because the community already know what they want, and they already know what's needed to make their lives more meaningful. And the issue is that you have like a lot of white paternalistic folks who are coming in and want to be saviors, and just like, this is what we think you need, or this is what we know you need.
Right.
And like motherfuckers don't want that shit, you know. Like we had that shit come in like for Flint, where it was just like, well, we need to have like, what you need right now is for people to like to be eating healthy.
Right.
And it's just like, motherfuckers can't even wash their damn hands and flush the toilet. Like we need to
Right.
work on that. Like I
Right.
was not like marching in the streets so somebody could do like how to cut a carrot with a plastic fork,
What?
and knife at like at a children's center. Like that's not what I was marching in the street for. Like I was risking arrest for people to have clean water so they can wash their hands, flush the toilet, wash their hair.
Right. Right.
So and a lot of that stuff, you know, like really being open, you know, like even though like, you know, I live in Flint, but just knowing that like the privilege that I now exert of being like head of an organization, and that is like, you know, like some privilege. And but I
Right.
got a crew of folks who like who will check me, and being open to be checked. You know, like you are not above like critique, you know, and just having like just this openness, and that, like that's how you build authenticity.
But I wanna add a qualifier. Are you saying you're not above critique, but as long as it's from people in your community? Because I think a lot of people like to critique, right? And they don't know the work you doing.
Yeah.
They just like the nigga from Belly, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Black nigga on the couch, like, and he was just like, you know, he could have been out there
Yeah.
getting money with
Well,
everyone else, but he felt some type of way. And so he set people up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
how
Well,
do we deal with that?
I'm accountable to my community. Like I live in Flint, I'm accountable to Flint. Like I'm not accountable to people in Louisiana. Like I don't know the Louisiana experience, you know?
That's all I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Blink, blink. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like it's just like, you know, like when I think about, you know, like and being like accountable, like and it's not like necessarily like people in my circle, but I'm just saying like just having kind of like that back and forth, because there's people outside of my circle and like wants to come at me. And I mean people come at me all the time, you know.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like, well, fuck you, you know, like you're not gonna like make me like I'm gonna still sleep as well as I'm gonna sleep without like you deciding that you want to come at me, you know.
Right. And we
Because
talked about this offline. Like, what about if there is a person who you've had beef with or have harm happen, whether it's you did it or they did it, and then they come to you and they're like, let's work together because the moment is bigger than us, whatever. It's like, are you
yeah.
required to?
Well, I would say that depends on the type of harm and how people feel about it. So if I'm still feeling some type of way, how Nayyirah works is
How
someone who
Nayyirah works.
and how Nayyirah works is someone who, you know, has practiced a lot of like the racial justice stuff and like around conflict and resolving conflict. Is like, I can't be in this space until we resolve this.
Right.
Or until it's addressed. It doesn't necessarily have to be resolved like in its totality, but I'm going to actually say something and I'm going to listen to your response, even if it's just like, I needed to get this off my chest for me to move forward. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be silent because, you know, a lot of times, you know, harm perpetuates when you are silent. So, you know, like, so I do that. But then if it's like, but then you have like folks who are just like habitual line steppers and who be like creeping all up in the missions because there's money on the table or they trying to clout chase. And so like those organizations or people just need to be called all the way the fuck out and just be continued to be called out on a regular basis. And if I had all the time in the world and like independently wealthy, like I would be like following them around with a bullhorn, like calling them a clout chaser. You know what I mean? Because I'm just like real petty.
I should have wore eyeliner today. I should have put on some makeup for this read. I don't know. Like, thank you. Because, you know, I don't have the answer. You know, I allow for space for a lot of bullshit. I don't have the answer. I just know that, like, my feelings are valid. And I don't believe that, I believe that you can put aside petty things if both people are in a praxis of actually working towards collective liberation. But I do not think that you could put aside petty things if one of those individuals is for self. It's not really for the community. It's for this absorption that you're looking from the community. And it's like, I've run into that a lot. It's not just where I live now. It's in other cities I've been in. I've literally, you know, like that restorative justice headset is on and I'm listening to people and, you know, my time in New Orleans, you know, helping and supporting other organizers. And they're like, nah, we're not working with, I'm like, those are actually the people who could help you because they already have the infrastructure. Why would you recreate the wheel just so your name could be at the top? Like, why, like, you know, you could, you know, if you have a critique about them, that's valid, but you don't have a critique about them other than, you know, they're respectable or they're this or like, can
it's
you
like,
just,
why are you on TV and I'm not? Then that's, you know.
I have to end the conversation because I feel like I feel like that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like it's and you know, people will say it's not about clout, it's about, oh, I do the work. And it's like, if you do the work, then the recognition, if it does come, will come to you. But this is not a thankful job. Community organizing, I've taken a break because I'm tired. Like, you should be taking constant breaks or you should be broken. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be one or the other. You can't be like, well, I'm on top 24/7 community organizer and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not a community organizer to me. That's a speaking figure. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but I appreciate like this conversation. I feel like we covered a lot of topics. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you're surprised I didn't ask you? Or is there something that you're working on, a campaign or something that you're like, oh shit, don't let this broadcast end before I tell this bitch this? And then who would you like to see on the show?
Oh wow, that is so many questions all added up into one. I don't think like this has been like so chill and so like I just want to give gratitude to you, DiDi, for inviting me and like giving me the space to like just chit chat and talk shit. And like I just wish that I had some tea. I had some tea, or something, some hot beverage, steamy beverage, so I could sit back and talk some more. I felt like I could do this all night.
It feels good. You know, that's why I do it. Sometimes I'd be having anxiety about doing it. Like, I want to throw up every single time. I'm like, it's a show. I got to do a show. But it's like, after talking initially with y'all, whether I know you or not, thank God, like I've met you before, but like after talking with y'all, it makes me feel like this is the grounding. Like, this is the grounding, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah. I would say somebody that I would love for you to have on the show
Okay.
is a bomb water warrior in Detroit, Mama Monica Lewis Patrick, and
Okay.
she's the executive director, CEO of We the People of Detroit. And
Okay.
I would definitely, I will give you her
Look, I'm
contact
like, okay,
information.
all right. I was like,
Yeah,
do a letter
yeah,
introduction.
I will do that. I will send that immediately after this
Okay.
show.
Thank you. Thank
Like
you.
she would be amazing. Is this like just all Black people, or are you doing?
It gotta be some white people doing something. Like, and I'm saying, when I say doing something, I mean, like, I have to know that they have a track record of giving their money to Black folks. Like, not that they just out here doing whatever and trying to get the accolades. They have to be really distributing their money back to Black people. I've had 2 white people on the show, and they was on the same show.
Oh, I didn't mean white people, but like Latinx and
Oh,
indigenous.
I've had one, I've had, I've had one Latinx person. I've had one Afro Latinx person.
Okay, all
I
right.
could do it.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess I forgot because I remember. I remember reading like when you launched this.
I was like, it's
That's
our
been a minute.
stories.
I know. I didn't know like how. Okay, that's helpful. I may have a
You're like,
couple
that's
of other.
helpful.
I may have a couple of people that I'm not gonna say on air.
Okay. No, I
But
appreciate it.
I will give you their contact information as well. I don't think I have anything else that I wish that you would have asked me.
Okay.
As far as like me personally, I know like Oregon.
No, I feel good because we don't plan the show. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's very few people that call me beforehand. When I say very few, your episode number 46, it's been very few people that call me beforehand and be like, what are we going to talk about? Like, there's no planning. It's just us, like, being in community and, like, building that. And so I want to say thank you because I have followed your work since, I can't even shut her out at this point. I have followed your work since Leslie Mack was like, you need to connect with Nayyirah Shariff, and I was like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? And we was in
Yeah.
Flint, and I told you straight jacket, I was like, I love the people that I'm working with here, but I'm not sure that they're organizers, and I wanted to connect with community niggas. And we all went out to breakfast or lunch I don't know what it was. Still to this day, I had a hot dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to say, like, I have been following you since 2017, and I just appreciate you and what you're doing so much. Because when I say think less work, no one gives a fuck about Flint, Michigan like y'all do. And I just want to say that the work you're doing is so amazing and so important that there's nothing you haven't put out that I haven't been like, and we need to directory, like, you know what I'm saying? So I will continue to do that to the best of my ability. And if I'm not doing it, pull my coat, Sid. Just be
All right,
like,
cool. I'm not sure where the Heroes Act is at the federal level, but like in that particular bill, there is a moratorium, like on water shutoffs and utility and broadband, and so that's something that like we're organizing with other organizations that are part of that work in Michigan.
okay.
If for folks who are looking at this in Michigan, the moratorium on water shutoffs expires next week, and we are asking for folks to send emails to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, so that could be extended because we know
If you
that this
could
isn't
send me the
over.
wording, I will
Okay.
actually make it a post tomorrow from my page and get some folks on it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
I got you. I
And
got you.
and then also if you live in Michigan,
And then also,
like and
yeah.
also like the My COVID community is a platform that, like if you want to be part of an authentic coalition, if you live in Michigan and you don't have to be a member of an organization, an authentic like bring the issues that you care about in a space that organizing is happening because it's made up of a bunch of different organizations that do organizing work. And you know, like there's committees around mutual aid, because you know,
Right.
like a lot of that's happening, and tracking like all the fuckery that's happening at the state level, which is probably
Right.
happening in a bunch of states across the country. Like the austerity that's coming, and that's going to be pitting us, you know, that if we're not careful will pit us against each other, when we know that like we're going to be pitted against each other, and then they're going to give all the fucking money to the police.
Okay.
So
Whatever I can do to help, just let me know, and I'll tag other folks I know that live in Michigan. So
all right, yeah.
I got
But
you.
that's all I have. It doesn't look like you have any more beverage. Are you still drinking air?
I'm still drinking air because this is the second glass. But I gotta drive home, so I gotta wait. I gotta eat some more spaghetti or whatever. We'll see what happens. But thank you so much for spending this time with me. I know it's being recorded, so you could lie to kick it. It's fine. You don't have to lie. You could just be like, no, bitch, I don't know you and I don't like you. Can you and I keep in contact? Because I would like to have like different kinds of friendships with people, like, you know what I'm saying, like, or work towards like getting to know different types of people. I feel like my circle's so small on purpose, but
sometimes you need that. Like that's protective, you know. Like you don't want like everybody all up in your shit, because that gets messy.
right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I hope that you
yes,
have a
yes.
listen, I was just gonna move past the question.
I didn't mean that as a tactful note.
Nah, nigga, you cool. I meant it, but I hope that you have an amazing evening. I do hope you get some tea in your system because you deserve it. You need some self-care, and like I hope you engage in all the things. I hope you masturbate. I hope everything happens well for you this evening. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you have a good night, and thank you for being on this episode of The Full Set.
Yeah, I'm gonna get off and do some embroidery.
Yeah. Come on, asexual. All right, bitch. Bye.